Right then, Makerfield is done and dusted. There's some interesting things to talk about, obviously some amusing things as well, and we're going to get into that. It'll be good to talk about something else. I'm sick of social media just being obsessed with it for the last month, certainly in the UK. Regarding my thumbnail though, there's been a lot of discussion about that online. A lot of people saying it's American slop, that we shouldn't be importing the United Kingdom, right? And obviously, from looking at the video, one would assume that the ballots are pre-sorted by candidate. And then when they've been sorted, they hand them off to other people and then they just flick through them and tally the votes. So I'm not saying it's definitely evidence of cheating, but what I am saying is it's definitely something we need to be worrying about, because if you think the biggest election in the free world has been free and fair in the last 10 years, you are definitely mentally ill. Like, the evidence is overwhelming. And the second question you have to ask yourself is, do the people, the nice party, the tolerant people, who have street parties when Margaret Thatcher died, who dance joyously in the streets when a young man gets assassinated and shot in the neck in a graphic, really graphic stuff that you can't show on YouTube or you'd instantly get banned. And the response to that was millions and millions of them dancing and partying on the internet. You have to ask yourself one simple question. Do you think people as hateful and ideologically possessed as those people, do you honestly think they'd be against doing a little bit of cheating? We import everything American. Blue jeans, cheeseburgers, and tossing 20,000 ballots of the candidate you don't like into the wood chipper. Nice one. Right, here's the results by the numbers. You've all seen them by now. I'll be quick. First thing that's funny, it's The Guardian. The image they used for the primary story includes Burnham, the Greens woman, that complete lunatic who got humiliated on a national stage after a question time appearance. And then, instead of, one would assume, the second and third place candidates, no, they went with bin face and an anthropomorphic fox. You couldn't make it up, could you? The Guardian. They won't even show you the faces of the guys who came second. Sorry, the guy and the gal that came second and third. It's ridiculous. Although, it's quite nice to see that quirky British thing of having raving lunatics in costumes standing for election. I don't think I've ever seen anyone with a bin on their head and an anthropomorphic animal. Although in this day and age, probably a furry. Probably a furry. That 6-foot fox there is probably rogering the Green Party candidate. But anyway, let's get to the numbers. Results, you've seen, basically flat from Reform. They didn't grow very much, by about 2% or something. Labour breezed it, absolutely walked it, and Restore did well for the first ever proper by-election, considering they've only been a party for less than a year. They did fine. What is depressing about it is, after the last 2 years, that 54.8% of the locals voted for Labour. I mean, I've heard Makerfield's rough. Is it just a parasite class in Makerfield? Is half the population closely related to Mick Philpott? You know what I'm talking about, the northern stereotype. I need money for baby. The ones who do nout. Less work than Stephen Hawking's bicycle clips 24/7. People who go from cradle to grave without ever doing a day's work. Because that's the only thing that I can assume is going on here. Like, this is why people had to be landowners when they voted back in the day. Maybe that's something we need to promote. You don't get to vote unless you've paid income tax at least once in your life. If you promote people to do nothing and then put them on the state tit and just say to them, keep voting for us and you'll keep getting your special brew money, of course they're going to vote for you. Why would people dependent on the state ever vote for a candidate or a party that says you should go to work, you useless, lazy, born idle, buffalo-ass, degenerate, lifelong, dolly scum? Why would they vote for people like that? I dare say Jacob Rees-Mogg would get about 2% in Makerfield as well, wouldn't he? So there's your big takeaway. The UK is just in ruins, and the normies deserve every ounce of scorn we can pour on them. Yeah, if you've ever been fingered by a bloke whose name you can't even spell, then I'm sorry, buddy, you are beneath contempt. or your grandkids. Think of that. There'll be at least some diddler victims in Labour, in a Labour heartland like Makerfield. There's going to be people there who voted for Labour and their teenage granddaughter got rogered above a kebab shop by Iqbal. Think of that. Like your Super Kings, your scratch card and your special brew are more important here than your granddaughter's gusset. Not looking like a yawning hippopotamus. This is staggering revelation to me, this. It's sort of blackpilling, although I've been doing that since I started my channel, so nothing new there. Sense of humour in adversity, that's what I'm all about, and there's plenty of adversity coming your way. You best believe that. That's amazing as well. Labour, they've just done awful, and while the big parties like the Conservatives and the Lib Dems got kind of tanked as well, Labour not totally immune to it. Doesn't matter what happens, these people you can't reason with them. The Lib Dem candidate got 163, so he's done well, although he did manage to beat Count Binface, so well done. People were saying Restore were going to lose their deposit. But I tweeted about that a few days ago. I'll take anyone's money who said that. I knew they'd make a decent fist of it because their message is the only one that people genuinely get behind. Working class people, actual working class people, that do work. Plumbers and builders and bricklayers and window cleaners and bus drivers. Don't lump them in with working class people that Labour talk about, which is Mick Philpott, Lizzie Bardsley, and the other 10 million fat asses who sit in the front room all day watching Gogglebox, ordering takeaways and drinking cans that you paid for. They're not working class, they're the underclass. They're the parasite class. Incidentally, that also describes 95% of the foreigners that have turned up in the UK in the last 10 years. And now onto the tweet. Right, here's the footage in full. Not much to go off, is there?
For the Scottish Conservative Party, who look as though they could be on their way to winning Aberdeen South, it could be a very historic win for them. They have not gained the Westminster seat in Scotland.
That's it, basically. And there's people there saying, oh, she's casting furtive glances aside. We have to upend all the tables and bulldoze the town hall. I'm not saying that's what happened there, right? I'm definitely not. But honestly, after the last decade, the world's gone completely mad. Tony Blair completed his march through the institutions years ago, and we've spent at least 20 years pathologising an entire generation of people into thinking that Boris Johnson was a fascist, right? David Cameron was a fascist. Donald Trump's a fascist. The most boring milquetoast people, all three of them. Never disappeared a journalist, never took a student on a free helicopter ride like the general. You get what I'm saying? These people are milquetoast, boring, dull. They don't do anything. But you've got 50 million people in the free world think that they are fascists, and therefore it is perfectly reasonable to murder them. So my question to you is this. Do you honestly think that you can trust the election process in the modern era when Charlie Kirk getting executed in front of tens of thousands of people is a moment for levity which caused millions and millions of people to party and dance and sing and say, brilliant? Do you honestly trust that the people counting the ballots in this day and age would be above cheating to help their candidate? I mean, if you think of it and try and get into the mind of these spastics, it would actually be moral, wouldn't it? They think it was moral for Charlie Kirk to get killed. They thought it was good to execute a healthcare professional in the middle of the street. They think it's great when the president gets a hail of gunfire at his rallies because they think these people are all beneath contempt. They think you're evil. They think you're evil, which is why they always put you in a gulag and they don't get pricked by the consciences. They feel no shame or guilt at all. They just go, I'm sure they all deserve it. This is why the left are the evil, scary ones, and people like us that actually read history books are scared of them because they're not tolerant. They're extremely dangerous. Jacob Rees-Mogg's tolerant. He's an old-fashioned conservative. He wouldn't go gay bashing, would he? But they like talking about punching Nazis, don't they? And the downside is every single person they disagree with is one of them. So if you get into their mindset, it's moral and just and righteous to possibly risk going to prison. I mean, it wouldn't happen. It would have stitched up the legal system so they wouldn't go to prison. But they would cheat. I'm convinced of it. So, yeah, okay, this is probably innocent, but I think we need something to placate the masses. Some changes to the system, some cast iron way that we can make everybody happy and convince them that our elections aren't getting rigged, because the evidence for it, certainly across the pond, and now by looking at the behaviour of the modern left, can you tell me with a straight face you don't think people like that 400 communists march on London, revolution against the billionaires? You don't think people like that might be relatively happy to just sign on as a poll watcher and then ditch a few thousand restore ballots in the bin? Because I definitely do, and I have no confidence at all in the electoral process anymore. We're not living in normal times. I had total confidence in the 90s and the noughties, but now, definitely not. I think this lot, they love making martyrs of themselves. They'd line up to risk a prison sentence. They are pro-violence. Their actions and deeds prove it. This isn't rhetoric. They post the videos of themselves all over social media. They love it when their political opponents get murdered. So don't tell me they'd be beyond doing a little bit of paperwork. All right? But that's just my opinion. If you think everything's fine because you're a complete retard and your head has been so far up your arse for the last 10 years that you've got yesterday's dinner matting your hair, you let me know down in the comments, all right? I'll be doing a stream in a bit, so I'll see you all there. Thanks for tuning in. Toodle pip. Cheers.